മാന്യ പ്രേക്ഷകർക്ക് ട്രാവൻകൂർ ടെലിവിഷൻ്റെ ഗേറ്റ്വേ എന്ന ഈ പ്രോഗ്രാമിലേക്ക് സ്വാഗതം. ഇന്ന് നമ്മോടൊപ്പം അതിഥിയായി എത്തിയിരിക്കുന്നത് അനേക വർഷത്തെ സായുധ സേനാ സേവനത്തിന് ശേഷം ആർമിയിൽ നിന്ന് വിരമിച്ച കേണൽ ലൂക്ക് സാറാണ്. ലൂക്ക് സാറിനെ സംബന്ധിച്ച് പറയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ അദ്ദേഹം ജനിച്ചതും വളർന്നതും പഠിച്ചതുമെല്ലാം വടക്കേ ഇന്ത്യയിലാണ്. എന്നാൽ ഇപ്പോൾ റിട്ടയർമെൻറ്റിന് ശേഷം അദ്ദേഹം സെറ്റിൽ ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്നത് പത്തനംതിട്ട ജില്ലയിൽ കുമ്പനാട് എന്ന പ്രദേശത്താണ്. 1976 വർഷം അദ്ദേഹം സായുധ സേനാ സേവനത്തിന് വേണ്ടി നാഷണൽ ഡിഫൻസ് അക്കാഡമിയിലേക്ക് തിരഞ്ഞെടുക്കപ്പെട്ടു. നമുക്കെല്ലാവർക്കും അറിയാവുന്നതുപോലെ നാഷണൽ ഡിഫൻസ് അക്കാഡമി എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് പൂനായ്ക്കടുത്തുള്ള ഖടക്വാസല എന്ന സ്ഥലത്താണ് അത് സ്ഥിതി ചെയ്യുന്നത്. 1976 പൂനെക്കടുത്തുള്ള നാഷണൽ ഡിഫൻസ് അക്കാഡമിയിലേക്ക് അദ്ദേഹത്തിന് സെലക്ഷൻ ലഭിച്ചു. 3 വർഷത്തെ അവിടുത്തെ പരിശീലനത്തിന് ശേഷം ഡെറാഡൂണിലുള്ള ഇന്ത്യൻ മിലിറ്ററി അക്കാഡമിയിലേക്ക് തീവ്ര പരിശീലനത്തിനായി അദ്ദേഹം നിയോഗിക്കപ്പെടുകയും അതിനുശേഷം പൂർണ്ണ സേവനത്തിലേക്ക് അദ്ദേഹം പ്രവേശിക്കുകയും ചെയ്തു. 1980 ലഫ്റ്റനൻ്റായിട്ടാണ് അദ്ദേഹം സായുധ സേനയിൽ അംഗമാകുന്നത്. അതിനുശേഷം നീണ്ട 24 വർഷത്തെ സേവനം അദ്ദേഹത്തിന് ലഭിക്കുകയുണ്ടായി. ഈ 24 വർഷത്തിനുള്ളിൽ അദ്ദേഹം 3 യുദ്ധങ്ങളിൽ പങ്കെടുത്ത ഒരു പ്രത്യേക പരിചയം കൂടി അദ്ദേഹത്തിനുണ്ട്. ഒന്നാമത്തെ നമുക്ക് അറിയാവുന്നതുപോലെ യുദ്ധം എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ശത്രുരാജ്യങ്ങൾക്കെതിരെ മാത്രമല്ല, രാജ്യത്തിനകത്തും പുറത്തും ശത്രുക്കൾ ധാരാളമായിട്ട് ഉള്ളത് നമുക്കറിയാമല്ലോ. 1980 കാലഘട്ടങ്ങളിലാണെന്നാണ് എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നത് അദ്ദേഹം ജമ്മു കാശ്മീരിലെ ഓപ്പറേഷൻ രക്ഷക് എന്ന ഓപ്പറേഷനിൽ അദ്ദേഹം പങ്കെടുത്തു. അതിനുശേഷം പഞ്ചാബിലെ ഓപ്പറേഷൻ ബ്ലൂ സ്റ്റാറിൽ പങ്കെടുത്തു. അതിനുശേഷം ശ്രീലങ്കയിൽ നടന്ന യുദ്ധത്തിൽ ഇന്ത്യൻ പീസ് കീപ്പിംഗ് ഫോഴ്സിൻ്റെ ഒരു അംഗമായിട്ട് അദ്ദേഹം പ്രവർത്തിക്കുകയും ചെയ്തു. ഇന്ന് സാറ് നമ്മോടൊപ്പം ഉണ്ട്. സാറിനെ ഈ ചർച്ചയിലേക്ക് ഹാർദവമായിട്ട് സ്വാഗതം ചെയ്യുന്നു.
Greetings, sir, and to you all viewers. Thank you.
Sir, my first question to you, sir, you are born and brought up outside Kerala, and your education was also outside Kerala. So you had a very nice option to go for a lucrative job. But in spite of all these things, why did you opt for the army service? What motivated you to join the army services?
I believe it is because of my exposures to my higher school education during those days. I'm talking about 73 to 76 years when I was exposed to being given the responsibilities of the school pupil leader, and I did that continuously for 3 years. When I had seniors above me, I was still selected as the school pupil leader of Kendriya Vidyalaya, Trishnapalli. And there, when I discharged my duties as the leader there, one Major Nair, he picked me out and encouraged me to join the National Defense Academy. And that was in my 10th standard when I had no clue about what this academy is all about. So he probably saw certain leadership qualities in me and also my capabilities that I may do well. So he encouraged me, and that's how that happened. And then of course the exposures that I had of the 1971 operations against West Pakistan as also East Pakistan at that time, and how Bangladesh was born. So those are the occasions when I felt I should serve my country.
Okay. So you already told that you had no clue about the National Defense Academy at that time. Even now also, what I think that even people doesn't have a proper idea about what National Defense Academy is, or how the people are getting selected. So can you illustrate about something about National Defense Academy, and what is the procedure of getting admission to the National Defense Academy?
Well, the National Defense Academy is a premier training establishment for all the 3 services of the Indian Defense Services, and only if you really visit that location in Khadakwasla, Pune, you would know how beautiful that place is. It's like a mini Switzerland. And getting selected into the NDA, at least in North India, it's supposed to be one of the prime selections that one would really desire for. And in my case, I got the exposure, like I said, to join the NDA through the competitive examination that is available for us all. And we have the UPSC, Union Public Service Commission, publishing these advertisements in the newspapers. And those days I never had any coaching classes, but I got some bit of exposure from Major Nair, who guided me and helped me to the preparations that are engaged in that. So having written the competitive examination those days, there were about maybe 80,000 people from all over the country who appeared for the exam, and ultimately close to about maybe 1,500 get selected according to their grading. And then we have the several service selection boards in different parts of the country, SSBs they are known as, and these selection boards do the interview of candidates selected for the NDA or UPSC entrance test, and they are shortlisted to close to about maybe 600 to 700, and then finally about 300 are selected.
So how many days were there actually there for the interview?
The interview lasted for 6 days, followed by 3 days of very stringent medical tests.
Okay, so what was the interview that you faced on the very first day?
The very first day we are asked to write certain tests. There are many IQ, intelligence quotient tests, and various aptitude tests, then group discussions, and so on and so forth. Since it's spread out over 6 days, if I start explaining everything, it will take time.
Okay, yeah.
But it's quite an interesting exposure, and I, for the first time in my life, faced a service selection board.
So finally you made it to the National Defence Academy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So then normally or usually it is said that a person who joined the army as an officer should have some officer-like quality, or we call it OILQ. Can you mention something about this OILQ or officer-like qualities?
Yes, officer-like qualities are something that are sometimes inborn in an individual, and also it comes through training. Basically, it all depends on how you conduct yourself before the men. So you need to be a cut above the rest. You need to show compassion and at the same time be strict. You should be your integrity level should be high. Your moral uprightness should be high, and then your conducting yourself before the men should be of such a quality that would attract them out of the respect and regard that they have for you. So there are many OILQ qualities, officer-like qualities in a person, and these are some prominent qualities that stand out.
Okay. Sir, this National Defence Academy is the premier institution in the country which mainly recruits the children to the national services. But in addition to that, you find an Officers Training Academy, there is one in Chennai, and the Indian Military Academy is also there. So what is the purpose of establishing this Officers Training Academy as well as the Indian Military Academy in addition to the National Defence Academy?
Well, the army has a pyramidal structure. So for any pyramid to stand, it got to have a broad base, right?
Okay.
So the basic, I'm talking about the officers selection only. We have the entry levels for lieutenant to major level. Up to that level, they form the chunk of the Indian Army officers. So approximately 42,000 officers are there presently in the Indian Army, out of which the ladies are probably about 3%, and the rest is all men, gentlemen who do extremely well. So basically, after a certain level, the rise in the pyramidal structure is so steep that many fall out.
Okay. So you mentioned about the entry of the women into the armed forces. It's a phenomenon of a recent origin. So what do you feel about this entry of the women into the armed forces?
Women are doing extremely well in all spheres, and I don't think we should discount them. And they are capable of doing anything. So unfortunately, our culture is such that we underestimate them.
Male dominant.
So male chauvinistic philosophy that is there in Indian mind should be cast out, and I strongly feel the women are doing extremely well and they should opt for the army. But the only thing is, the women came into the army from 1992 only.
Yeah.
Prior to that, it was totally a male-dominated organization. From 92 to 2020 February, the women have been doing a yeoman service or giving the yeoman service to the army, and many of them have risen up the ladder in non-combatant roles. For combatant to take part, only the gents are permitted. So they have logistical and administrative responsibilities as far as the women are concerned. Now they have been given by the Supreme Court's verdict in February 2020 the responsibility to command units, but then not a combatant unit. Basically, the Army Medical Corps, the Adjutant General's Branch, the Army Education Corps, then we have the engineering services and such logistical organizations. They are doing extremely well with women now able to command them.
Okay. Yeah. Sir, then another notion that which prevails is that the army is mainly meant for the physically tough people, not meant for the academically brilliant. There is a notion that is prevailing even still today. Now, the army has got a lot of what you call institutions similar to engineering colleges, IITs and medical colleges like that. What do you say about the entry into those, especially armed forces medical college? Because nowadays the children are always looking for an entry into either engineering or medicine, and the army has got these two options also, but people are not aware of it. So what do you say about this?
Well, getting into the Armed Forces Medical College or the AFMC is like any other competitive examination that we have for other medical colleges, and the selection process is again through the UPSC, and once they perform well, they have the regular interview and things like that, and their IQ is tested, and their aptitude for the medical services is tested definitely, and the vacancies that are created for the AFMC entries are probably at par with any other medical college, and the standards laid down are probably even more stringent, I would say, because they insist on the individual's self-confidence and the way that person can conduct himself among the men, because women and men are given equal chance to enter into the AFMC. So they become medical doctors and do extremely well in operational areas and very, very difficult circumstances. So they are tested for that. So I would encourage many of our viewers, especially the youngsters, to opt for joining the AFMC. It's a great opportunity, and the base salaries are extremely well. I mean, the salaries are really good and very, very competitive, no doubt. And you have the option to serve the country in difficult terrain, serving the soldiers who are in operational areas, and there's plenty of opportunities for you.
So what are the promotional avenues available for this
AFMC?
AFMC also, then engineering, then as a normal entry, what are the promotional opportunities available for the entry level? What is the scope?
Yes, so the scope or the promotional aspects, as I told you earlier, because of the pyramidal structure, after a certain level, the fallout levels are high. So just to encourage the self-satisfaction level, they allow for the short service commission officers, like from the OTA and short commission service, like up to 5 years it used to be earlier, now it is up to 10 years, and you can opt for serving up to about 14 years. So that's the present orders. So to your question, what I would say is that the scope is high, provided you did do well. So the below average people definitely get filtered out.
So what are the benefits of joining the armed forces?
Well, it gives you a lot of satisfaction and enables you to build up a level of self-confidence, and you can handle any kind of situation in any environment the confidence level is very high. And then, of course, you have the added advantage of having been taught discipline, because in every area of our lives, we are to show a sense of self-discipline, and that the Army teaches you beautifully. And my training in National Defence Academy as well as in the Indian Military Academy did a great lot for me to do, develop as a personality. And I'm very, very proud that I'm an ex-NDA and ex-military service officer.
So now you are leading a retired life. So can you tell us, sir, how the service in the armed forces is now enabling you to lead a proper civil life?
Well, as I told you, it's given me a level of self-confidence and also enabled me to enter into various opportunities that are available to me. And I handle many responsibilities right now as the Vice President of the India Bible College and Seminary, and dealing with students, dealing with occasions, dealing with very challenging situations. For all that, I have the opportunity to put all that I have learnt in my career in the Army into practice, and I think the past service opportunities has helped me and my organization that I represent now, and I'm indeed very proud and thankful to God, very much thankful to God for keeping me alive. And you know, having faced the enemy's bullets in Sri Lanka as well as in Jammu and Kashmir, it has definitely helped me to a level of being more confident with any situation that come my way. So
thank you very much, Colonel Luke sir, for sparing your valuable time coming over here and participating in this discussion. And on behalf of the Travancore Television, I take this opportunity to express my thanks to you for coming over here. Thank you very much.
So thank you so much for this opportunity. I really count it as a great privilege in my life. Thank you.
John F. Kennedy once said, "Ask not what the country can give you, just think what you can give to the country." I think, in my opinion, armed forces is the best option for anyone to give what they can contribute towards the welfare of the country. Thank you, viewers, for sparing your valuable time. Thank you once again.
Thank you.